Sheikh Khalid Noor had everything power could buy in Dubai: wealth, influence, and a palace that touched the sky. But Aanya Rao carried a secret that could destroy it all. When their newborn son arrived under royal celebration, no one expected a single DNA test to ignite a scandal that would shake two countries. Within hours, trust turned into suspicion, luxury turned into confinement, and a marriage built on prestige began collapsing behind guarded gates. As Khalid's empire moved to protect its name, Aanya faced a terrifying reality. She had just 72 hours to escape with her child before she disappeared from the world she once believed was her fairy tale. In the glittering city of Dubai, where towers of glass rise from the desert and luxury cars glide across spotless highways, the wedding of Sheikh Khalid Noor and Aanya Rao was the kind of event that dominated headlines for weeks. The ceremony took place inside a private beachfront palace, decorated with rare white roses flown in from Europe and chandeliers that shimmered like falling stars. Influential business leaders, foreign diplomats, and members of royal families attended. The celebration lasted 3 days, each more extravagant than the last. Sheikh Khalid was known as a powerful businessman whose family empire stretched across construction, oil investments, and luxury resorts. He carried himself with quiet authority, rarely smiling in public photographs. His reputation was built on discipline, intelligence, and influence. Marrying him meant entering a world few outsiders ever experienced. Aanya had grown up in Mumbai in a middle-class family that valued education and respectability. She had studied fashion design and once dreamed of launching her own clothing line. When she first met Khalid at an international charity gala, she felt overwhelmed by his confidence and attention. Their meetings were brief but intense, carefully arranged, and surrounded by security. After the wedding, Aanya moved into the palace overlooking the Arabian Gulf. Her wardrobe transformed overnight into designer gowns and custom jewelry. Staff attended to her every need. Yet beneath the glamour, rules quietly shaped her life. Her schedule was planned by assistants. Her outings required approval. Security officers followed at a respectful distance, but never far enough to forget they were there. From the outside, she appeared to be living a fairy tale. Inside the palace walls, however, the silence often felt heavier than the gold that surrounded her. Before her life became tied to the powerful world of Dubai, Aanya had known a very different kind of love. Years earlier in Mumbai, she had met Arjun Mehta during her final year of college. He was a freelance photographer who spent his days chasing light across crowded streets and quiet beaches. Their relationship grew naturally, built on shared dreams and late-night planning about future careers. They spoke about traveling the world and building something meaningful together. It was simple, imperfect, and real. But reality shifted when Anya's family learned about her connection to Arjun. They worried about stability and social standing. Arjun's unpredictable income and artistic lifestyle did not match their expectations. Around the same time, Sheikh Khalid entered her life with promises of security, prestige, and a future filled with opportunity. The contrast between the two worlds was impossible to ignore. Under pressure and confusion, Aanya ended her relationship with Arjun. The separation was sudden and painful. She convinced herself it was the practical decision, one that would protect her family's honor and secure her future. Soon after, preparations for her grand wedding began, and the memories of her former life were pushed aside. Months into her marriage, when palace doctors confirmed her pregnancy, celebrations erupted across the estate. The news was seen as a blessing for Sheikh Khalid's legacy. Gifts poured in from influential allies, and prayers were offered for a healthy heir. Yet alone in her private chamber, Aanya quietly counted dates on a calendar she kept hidden in a drawer. The timeline troubled her. A small doubt began to grow into something heavier. She tried to dismiss it as fear, but the uncertainty refused to disappear. A secret from her past was no longer just a memory. It was becoming a possible reality that could destroy everything around her. The birth took place in one of the most exclusive private hospitals in Dubai, a facility known for serving royalty and global elites. An entire floor had been cleared for security. Guards stood outside every entrance, and hospital staff signed strict confidentiality agreements. The arrival of Sheikh Khalid's first child was treated as a national celebration within his circle of influence. When the baby was born, fireworks were arranged along the coastline near the palace. Close business partners received engraved gift boxes announcing the heir's arrival. Social media accounts connected to the Sheikh's companies shared carefully worded messages of gratitude and pride. From the outside, it appeared that the future of the Al Noor legacy had been secured. But inside the quiet hospital suite, subtle tension began to form. The baby boy had delicate features that immediately caught attention. His complexion was lighter than expected. His eyes carried a shade uncommon in Khalid's family line. Nurses exchanged brief, uncertain glances before lowering their heads. No one dared to speak openly, yet the unspoken questions filled the room. When Khalid first held the child, his expression remained controlled. Years of discipline had taught him never to reveal emotion in public. Still, those closest to him sensed a shift. He studied the infant carefully, searching for familiarity. Back at the palace, whispers moved quietly among staff members. Servants noticed the differences. A senior advisor suggested, in private, that a discreet confirmation would protect the family's reputation. Within days, Khalid ordered a confidential DNA test conducted by a trusted laboratory with no connection to local authorities. The results were delivered in a sealed envelope late one evening. No announcement followed. No celebration was repeated. Instead, the palace grew unusually silent, as if it were holding its breath before a storm. When the DNA results confirmed the child was not Sheikh Khalid's, the atmosphere inside the palace shifted instantly. There were no public scenes, no visible outbursts, and no dramatic confrontations. Khalid understood that true power did not require noise. His response was controlled, calculated, and far more dangerous than anger. Within hours, Anya's movements were restricted. Her personal assistant was reassigned. The nanny who had been caring for the baby was replaced by someone loyal to the Sheikh's inner circle. The palace security system was quietly updated, limiting her access to certain wings of the estate. Even the garden overlooking the sea, where she often walked with the child, was suddenly off-limits without permission. Her phone disappeared first. She was told it needed to be upgraded for security reasons. The replacement never arrived. The internet connection in her private chambers stopped working. Television channels were reduced to local broadcasts. Every layer of communication with the outside world slowly vanished. Anya realized the isolation was deliberate. No one spoke directly about the test results, but the silence itself was confirmation. Servants avoided eye contact. Conversations ended when she entered a room. Meals were delivered rather than shared. She was no longer treated as the honored wife of a powerful man. She had become a risk to the family's reputation. Behind closed doors, Khalid met with his advisors. In families where legacy meant everything, scandal could destroy decades of carefully built influence. There were ways to remove problems quietly, especially in places where wealth could control narratives. One evening, Anya noticed unfamiliar men inspecting vehicles in the courtyard. Travel cases were being prepared. A private aircraft was placed on standby. No one explained why. The message was clear without being spoken. Her future was no longer in her hands, and time was running out. The warning came from someone Anya least expected. A senior housemaid who had served the family for years slipped a folded note beneath the baby's blanket during the early morning hours. The message was brief and written in hurried handwriting. It revealed that arrangements had been finalized to move Anya to a remote desert estate owned by the Al Noor family. The transfer would happen within 3 days. Once there, she would remain out of public view indefinitely. Anya had heard whispers about the desert property before. It was far from the city lights of Dubai, surrounded by empty land and guarded by private security. It was described as a retreat for family members who needed privacy. No photographs of it existed online. No guests were ever invited. Those who went there rarely returned to social life. 72 hours. The number repeated in her mind like a ticking clock. She forced herself to remain calm in front of the staff cameras positioned discreetly in hallways. Panic would only attract attention. Instead, she began observing routines more carefully than ever. She memorized the times guards rotated shifts. She noticed which entrances were used for deliveries and which ones were rarely inspected thoroughly. In a locked drawer inside her dressing room, she still had something important, a second passport issued before her marriage, quietly kept as a precaution. It had been overlooked during previous security checks because it was hidden inside the lining of an old jewelry case she never wore. She also remembered something else. Months earlier, she had seen online that Arjun was working on a photography assignment somewhere in the UAE. She did not know his exact location, but she knew he was nearby. If she was going to survive, she needed help from someone outside the palace walls. And she had less than 3 days to find it. The palace prepared for a high-profile charity banquet on the second night of the countdown. Influential guests from across the Gulf region were expected to attend in Dubai, and security focused heavily on the ballroom and main entrances. Aanya understood that large events created small gaps. Movement increased. Deliveries multiplied. Guards became distracted by VIP arrivals. Throughout the day, she behaved exactly as expected. She wore an elegant gown, selected by the palace stylist, and appeared briefly on the balcony, holding her child for photographers positioned far below. The image would later be shared as proof that everything inside the palace remained stable. Behind that performance, she carefully executed a plan. Earlier that morning, she had managed to slip into a service corridor where staff members stored their personal belongings during shifts. Among several mobile devices locked in a cabinet, she found one left charging and unattended. In less than a minute, she sent a short message to Arjun containing only a location and a single word indicating urgency. She erased the message history and returned the phone before anyone noticed. That evening, catering trucks arrived through the service gate carrying equipment for the banquet. Security guards inspected vehicles quickly to avoid delaying preparations. One truck contained large insulated storage compartments designed for transporting silver, serving trays, and decorative pieces. As the music and speeches filled the grand hall, Aanya quietly left her designated seating area under the pretense of tending to the baby. In a dimly lit storage room, she wrapped the child securely and placed him inside a padded equipment crate with air vents hidden beneath folded linens. She climbed into the adjacent compartment, closing the panel from inside. The truck engine started. Minutes later, it rolled toward the service exit. The palace gates opened, and for the first time since the scandal began, the catering truck drove several kilometers before stopping at a warehouse district on the outskirts of Dubai. When the rear doors opened, Arjun was waiting in the shadows beside a rented van. He had received a brief message only hours earlier and understood the danger without needing details. The reunion was tense and urgent. There was no time to reflect on the past. Within the palace, Anya's absence was discovered sooner than expected. Surveillance teams reviewed camera footage and traced the catering vehicle's route. By midnight, security alerts were issued to private contacts across the emirate. Khalid's influence moved quickly through business networks, airport authorities, and border checkpoints. Officially, no public complaint was filed, but quiet instructions were delivered to trusted officials. Arjun avoided major highways, choosing less monitored roads that connected smaller towns. Instead of heading directly to an international airport, they drove toward another emirate where surveillance was lighter. Along the way, they changed vehicles twice, using contact from Arjun's photography assignments who were unaware of the full situation. By dawn, news of tension inside the Al Noor household began circulating in discreet business circles. Rumors spread about a family dispute. That leak worked in Anya's favor. Once whispers began reaching media figures, any aggressive action against her would attract international attention. Rather than risk airport security, Arjun arranged passage on a small private fishing vessel departing from a quiet coastal harbor. The boat moved slowly into open waters, crossing beyond immediate jurisdiction. Behind them, the skyline of Dubai faded into the horizon. Ahead lay uncertainty, but also possibility. For the first time in days, Anya allowed herself to believe that escape might actually succeed. When Anya arrived in Mumbai, exhaustion finally replaced fear. She immediately contacted legal authorities and filed a formal statement detailing the restrictions she had faced inside the palace in Dubai. Her account quickly reached investigative journalists, and within days, international media outlets began reporting on the dramatic escape of a royal wife and her infant son. Public attention became her shield. The more visible she was, the harder it became for powerful forces to silence her quietly. Khalid's representatives denied wrongdoing and described the situation as a private marital dispute. However, the controversy surrounding the DNA test refused to fade. To settle speculation and protect her child's future, Anya agreed to a second, court-supervised DNA examination conducted in India under independent medical oversight. The results stunned everyone involved. Arjun was not the biological father. Medical experts expanded the investigation and requested record from the private fertility clinic in Dubai, where Anya had undergone an early prenatal procedure. After weeks of scrutiny, a critical error surfaced. Laboratory documentation suggested that embryos from two separate patients had been mislabeled during storage. The mistake had gone unnoticed until now. The scandal transformed from a story of betrayal into a case of medical negligence involving elite clients. Lawyers prepared international lawsuits. Regulatory authorities quietly opened inquiries into the clinic's practices. For Khalid, the revelation offered partial relief but did not erase the damage to his reputation. For Anya, it meant her child was innocent of every accusation that had fueled the crisis. In the end, the greatest twist was not infidelity or revenge, but a hidden error buried inside a system trusted by the powerful. A story that began with suspicion ended with accountability, leaving every life involved permanently changed.